Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Exponentialize Live. And today I'm going to be talking about everything is energy. So, one of the things that we know is that science actually tells us as well, which is that everything is made up of energy. So, basically, we have the molecular structure of things are molecules that are made up of energy, and they move at different rates, which creates the visualization of something being solid. So what we actually know is that it's not necessarily that it's solid, it's that in those specific areas the molecules are actually moving at a slower rate, and that's what creates the appearance of things being uh, solidified. So what you want to also look at is with this, it's like what have you made solid in your life that's not actually solid, that can be changed if you apply your ability to create with energy. Because one of the things that I know is X-Men are energetic creatures. They're energetic beings. And for most of you, it's like, well, for all of you actually, uh, you are basically, the first language that you have is energy. And it's the loudest thing usually in your world. And it's what you've always known and what you've always perceived. And a lot of you have made yourself wrong for your awareness of energy, because it doesn't match what a lot of people will say or what they think. And so, for a lot of you, that's created this place of really like a disconnect and feeling like you're wrong because you're different. But what if you have a really different way of actually engaging with the world and interacting with the world? Hi, Burkett, and thank you for the acknowledgement. I definitely function from a different space than I always have. And really just in the last, I would say, even year, I've really stopped making myself wrong for all of these different areas that I was still judging myself for not functioning the way that other people do. But I think you also have to be willing to look at really creating a completely and entirely different reality, which doesn't have to match anything that, most people decide is real and true, which is part of what is also, looking at this place of like, most people will say that, a wall is solid, for example. But if it is made up of molecules that are moving at different rates, is it actually solid, or is our point of view that actually creates it that way? Because we also know that we have the ability to change a molecule by putting our attention on it. And, there's some great studies that have been done. There was a guy called, I think it's Hashimoto, and a Japanese scientist who actually studied like the effects of emotions on water, basically. And so it's like, if you give like a certain intention to a glass of water, it will create like an energetic pattern that vibrates differently. And there's also a book called, I think it's The Secret Life of Trees, and they do these studies in this book where it's like, they talk to these young trees that they're growing, and one of them they praise and they're like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, you're doing amazing. And the other one they're like, you suck, you're gonna die, blah blah blah. And sure enough, the one that they're praising grows, and the one that they're putting down basically withers and dies. So with our energy, we have this ability to create, and we need to really acknowledge that, because, that's like, the more that you acknowledge your ability and your abilities and what you can create and what you as a being actually actualize energetically, the more that can become available for you to actually play with. And, so like, I know for example, a lot of you might have been able to walk into a room and you know everything that's going on for everyone because you have this energetic awareness of, what is, and it encompasses the past, the present, and the future. So you get the full picture of what's going on. And so, you walk into a room, you get all of this information, all of this awareness, and it's instantaneous. And then, you talk to someone and they basically say the opposite of, what's actually going on and what you're aware of. So then what a lot of you have done is gone to, well, I must be wrong for having this awareness, and there's something wrong with me. What we know is that anywhere that you think that there's something wrong with you is probably an area that you have something that's strong about you. And that's something that you want to start to look at. And every time you find something that's different about you, that you thought that's wrong about you, that turns out to be a capacity or a strength, you want to acknowledge it. And you want to really receive it, and then it can grow and more can show up. Burkett's also mentioned that there's a rice experiment, which is cool to do with kids, and it shows what happens when you direct hate to something or gratitude. Yeah, cool. So there's lots of examples of this. I wanted to also just talk about the energetic communication that X-Men have, because for a lot of you as well, when you have the ability to communicate energetically, it's very fast and it has a fullness to it that a lot of other forms of communication don't necessarily have. And so it's like, if that's not received, a lot of you would notice that it's like you've become frustrated by the non-receiving of the way that you are. And it's a little bit of a shame, but basically it's like you've got to also be willing to see who can actually receive, me here, who can actually receive this energetic awareness, this energetic communication. Because if you're trying to give people something that they can't receive, basically you just invalidate you. And, so you've got to be willing to have it, know that you've got it, but also know that that's not how everyone is going to function. You're different, you're weird. And, I think more and more as we start to acknowledge this, and as more and more people actually allow themselves to have that place where they're willing to have that form of communication, it will actually become something that is much more available. And you just want to look for examples of it in your life. Like someone might, you might be thinking about somebody and then they call you. That's an example of an energetic communication. Or, you might have this sort of like conversation with somebody in your head before you go and meet them. And then you get there and you have that exact conversation with them. So this is the way that energy works. It has no borders, it has no boundaries, and it has no limits. It's like, it just is. It's just there. So how many of you have been dismissing your awareness, your ability to communicate, and the language of energy that's actually true for you? So everything that is, and everything you've done to shut that off, turn it down, and throw it away, will you destroy and uncreate all of that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. There is also so much more available. Like we're really, truly scratching the surface of what's possible. And one of the things, I was just recently attending the Access Consciousness 7-day event with Gary Douglas and Dane here. And one of the things that Gary was saying was like, if you look at, say, Yellowstone, which is, a national park in America, and there's a big volcano there. And it's like, if that volcano erupts, which it's actually due to erupt, it goes off, I think, about every 260,000 years. And it's kind of like, the time is up for it to erupt again. Basically, it could create, such a big, like cloud of dust and, it could stop air travel. It could, like a lot of the systems that we use for communication and for travel over distance could actually be disrupted. And, this could happen at any number of different locations around the world. So in that situation, it's like, what would you have available? And, can you actually communicate with people on the other side of the world, without internet, without telephones, without these modes and means of transport and communication? For me, I know it's true. And it's like I've had enough of those instances where it's like what I was aware of globally turned out to be correct. It turned out to be, okay, yes, I was aware of that. I used to doubt it a lot more. But, now it's like I trust myself. I trust that I know what I know. And that's also part of really acknowledging your energetic awareness is you've really got to trust that you know what you know. And there's no guidelines for it. It's like there's no one that's going to say, oh yeah, this is the correct way to do it, or you really have to play. You really have to find what your reality is with it, and you've got to trust that Like, a lot of people would say, well, that's just crazy. You can't do that, But for me, I know it's true, and it's like, what's true for you, and what if you could start to actually explore that? This is also being live streamed to YouTube. Someone's just asking, will it be up? So it will be available on YouTube as well. There's a playlist called Exponentialize, and you can find all of the videos there as well. So yeah, that's me for today. I just wanted to, it's a topic that I guess you could notice, quite passionate about, because for me, it has opened up a completely different world. And I hope this has contributed to you. Please acknowledge you, keep choosing in the direction of what's true for you. And it's like, what else is truly possible with our capacities and our abilities with energy that we haven't even considered and that we're just starting to play with? And, would you like to be one of the pioneers for the creation of what's actually possible with energy? So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And I will be back again next week for another topic. And I'll talk to you then. Thanks, everyone. Bye.